I'm Karen Arikian, the artistic director at Hamptons Doc Fest. Thank you. Friends, thank you. and I want to welcome everybody to the screening of Monk and Pieces. A special welcome to our guest director, Billy Shebar, who is here, right over here. Producer Susan Margolin, which is also there, as well as the distributor, Zeitgeist Films, who will be receiving, Emily, who will be receiving our Legacy Award today. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors who make this festival possible. The T. and Charles Adams Foundation, Regina K. Scully and the Artemis Rising Foundation, the Yafa Foundation, Brown Harris Stevens, and the law firm of Twomey Latham, Shea, Kelly, Dubin, and Quadraro. We are very proud to use this opportunity to recognize and honor the great work of this film's New York-based distributor, Zeitgeist Films, better known as Nancy and Emily, Nancy Gerstman and Emily Russo. I've known Nancy and Emily since they started Zeitgeist Films in 1988. We've met time and again over the years at various festivals and different events and openings here and there. Just as an aside, someone once said to me that about all our film community, many filmmakers in here, it's like being in high school, but we never graduated. So I loved high school. Zeitgeist Films is legendary. In the very, very turbulent and challenging waters of independent distribution, Zeitgeist is one of the few survivors and thrivers, swimming upstream and always getting to where they want to be. Emily and Nancy are very selective in their choice of what they distribute and have brought to our local and national theaters some of the most artistic and thought-provoking films you could ever hope to see. Zeitgeist has acquired and distributed over 200 films, and they are renowned for groundbreaking documentaries, and their films have won awards at festivals around the world. They have had 5 films nominated for Academy Awards, with Nowhere in Africa winning Best Foreign Language Film in 2003. The Museum of Modern Art honored Zeitgeist with a month-long 20th anniversary retrospective of their films in 2008. And the premier independent cinema in New York City, Metrograph, celebrated the company's 35th anniversary with a retrospective in 2023. And we've had many of Emily and Nancy's films here at the festival. But Zeitgeist Films is truly, really Nancy and Emily, co-founders and co-presidents of the company, 2 dedicated, smart, compassionate, and thoroughly passionate people whose life work has enriched our cultural lives. Let's take a look at some of the films that they've handled over the years.
Documentary.
Every country I show up, they're always there.
They wanted to be professional first, and they wanted to live independent lives.
What is a corporation?
Comparing the marketing of yesteryear to the marketing of today is like comparing a BB gun to a smart bomb.
Underwater.
what John Africa did was expose
the lie and the system, uncover it.
Could you describe what you mean by the word the system, please?
The system, the establishment, you.
I want to be a simple, I mean, very simple, complicated person.
And we want to fit her into this story that we typically tell about artists, but it was impossible because women didn't fit that story.
No one had ever really studied an African animal in the wild, or pretty well any animal in the wild. So I was sort of breaking ground without realizing.
And I was looking for my Bergman in a way, right? Where's my director, right?
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
He was smart enough to recognize what a hard worker she was, how the talent just oozed from her.
I usually think that each artist has this one story that they're just telling over and over again, that basically they're telling it in different ways.
Wow, fantastic. So please, unfortunately, Nancy is not here with us today, but Emily is here to accept the award on her behalf, so on their behalf. Zeitgeist Films, please come up.
I accept on our behalf. Thank you, thank you. Yes, I'm really profoundly disappointed that Nancy can't be here. She really intended to come, but she's not feeling well and couldn't make the trip out. So the speech that we were going to make and give together, I'm going to give. So I'm going to read it, okay? Because I don't want to miss anything. We've given so much thought to what we want to say because this is such a huge honor for which we are so incredibly grateful. People often ask us, what was our favorite documentary that we distributed? And as you can see from our little show reel, asking that is like asking a parent to name their favorite child. But here's one secret to our longevity. We never distributed a film we didn't love. Before we even started Zeitgeist, Nancy and I had our own relationship with documentary films. Nancy handled the release of two of the most acclaimed docs of their time, Michael Apted's 28 Up and Ross McElwee's Sherman's March. I had written my senior thesis for my degree in cinema studies about the films of Albert and David Maysles. So in 1989, our first full year in business, when we had the opportunity to release Bruce Weber's ode to Chet Baker, Let's Get Lost, we didn't hesitate. The film received an Academy Award nomination for Best Documentary and got our nascent venture off to a very good start. The many acclaimed and award-winning documentaries which followed gave us the opportunity to work with an esteemed group of filmmakers, such as Agnes Varda, Laura Poitras, who is receiving a Veritas Award here, I believe, tomorrow, Astra Taylor, Kim Snyder, Matt Wolf, Matt Turnauer, Lynn Hirschman-Leeson, Rick Burns, Nancy Bursky, and many partners in filmmaking, like Nancy and I. It often takes two, and those would be Peter Wintonic and Mark Akbar, Dana Goldfein and Dan Geller. I think their film Everywhere Man is screening here on Monday. Jennifer Bashwal and Nick DePonsier, Amy Ziering and Kirby Dick, Greta Schiller and Andrea Weiss, and Tia Lesson and Carl Deal, whose latest film, Steal This Story, Please, was the opening night film here on Thursday, and Tia's here in the audience. Finally, there's Billy Shebar, whose magnificent portrait of Meredith Monk you will shortly have the pleasure of seeing. So another secret of our longevity, it never felt like work to be in business with these amazing and inspiring filmmakers. Nancy and I wanted to share one short anecdote with you that will illustrate the trials and tribulations of distributing a documentary about a notorious subject. 30 years ago, when we were releasing Manufacturing Consent, Noam Chomsky and the Media, we had a feeling that the New York Times, a great ally when they liked your film and a fearful outlet when they didn't, was not going to give the film a particularly good review. Critical as Mr. Chomsky was about their reporting and Western media in general, and this was in 1993, in those days, the paper was printed a first edition and a morning edition, and we went out that night and got the early edition to read the review and prepare ourselves and our filmmakers. As suspected, the review was not great, but we almost felt it wouldn't matter as long as Noam Chomsky's name was in the title of the film. So when we saw that the New York Times had printed the title of the film but omitted his name, Manufacturing Consent in the Media, we just flipped out. And we made some frantic midnight calls to the film desk, and we were able to get a correction in the morning edition, and Mr. Chomsky's name was restored, and the film was a big success. Okay, enough with stories. Now, let me get to recognizing a few people here who I would like to say something about. First, I would like to recognize the meaningful, steadfast, and supportive relationship to Zeitgeist Films from first my husband, Peter Aronson, and my entire family, many of whom are here today, and they have had front seat to the highs and the lows. Robert Marcus, our attorney of some 25 years, who negotiated most of the contracts for the films that you saw on the show reel, plus many others, intended to be here today, and he is missed. And our first ever employee and Zeitgeist longtime design director, Adrian Curry, who we still have the luck and pleasure to work with in his capacity in that role at our partner company, Kino Lorber, is present today. Adrian, you are as much deserving of this award as we are. And that brings us to another vital note of appreciation to Kino Lorber, and especially Richard Lorber, who brought us into a brilliant partnership 9 years ago that continues to this day and includes the film you are about to see. So we're truly honored and thrilled to receive this recognition from the Hamptons Doc Fest, and we thank both our longtime colleague, Karen Arikian, and Jackie Lafredo for bestowing it upon us. We're also grateful to another longtime friend and collaborator, producer Susan Margolin, who we have grown up with in the business, culminating in finally getting to release 2 of her recent films, Desperate Souls, Dark City, and The Legend of Midnight Cowboy, and today's Monk in Pieces. Both my partner, Nancy, who's here in spirit, and I thank you all for being here. Trust you will enjoy Monk in Pieces as much as we did when we added it to our ongoing legacy of documentary films. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Well, before we get started, I just want to give Emily a shout out for your award. Really, I have followed you for decades. We have interacted many, many times at the New York Film Festival and Lincoln Center, and you certainly deserve all the acknowledgement you can get. You are a true blue. So to begin the questions, I just want to ask the proverbial, how did this project get started? Did you know Meredith first, or did you just imagine that she would be a good subject and you went out to find her?
So to answer that question, I have to acknowledge someone who's in the audience standing up. Actually, she's performed with Meredith since the first production of Atlas in 1990, and she has worked with her on every production since. She worked with me on every phase of this film, and she also happens to be my wife, Katie Geisinger, on the wall there. So it really started with Katie auditioning for Meredith, bringing home music, which I'd never heard before. And then over the last 30, 35 years, having this front row seat to every production and growing to love Meredith's music and getting to know her, to realize, thinking about 5 years ago, that she'd make a really interesting subject for a film. So.
And when did you get involved, Susan?
So I met Billy when our films were playing back to back at Telluride. And his film was High Noon on the Waterfront, a wonderful short film. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. And my film was Desperate Souls, Dark City, and the Legend of Midnight Cowboy, distributed by the amazing Emily Russo and Zeitgeist. And we met there, and so, you know, one of these like, oh, here we are in Telluride, Colorado. Where are you from? I'm from the Upper West Side. You're from, so am I. Let's meet for coffee. And that was back in, I think, 2022. And Billy sent me some selects from the film that he had put together. And I was like, this is incredible. So that's how we met.
I remember you saying at one point, "I'm circling you," and
definitely circling.
You want a producer to circle you, certainly, and a distributor. But did Meredith have, if I may call her Meredith, did she have any involvement in the structure of the film, or did she just provide her interviews and obviously her archival material?
So Meredith being Meredith, which is she's a filmmaker, she's a perfectionist. I knew that I couldn't make the film if she was going to be over my shoulder or reviewing. So she agreed. She understood that, which is an incredibly generous thing for her to do. But she basically gave me complete editorial independence to take pieces of her music and put them with visual material that she never intended them with, to put my own interpretation on her work and her life. So she really gave that to me, did not review any rough cuts, but we showed her the film just before going to Berlin. Susan and I put her in a screening room and cleared out and let her watch the film, and she's kind of, you know, processed it over a period of months, and now she's all in.
I was interested in, you know, obviously your interviewees were fabulous and appropriate. And when Philip Glass talks about the downtown scene, the art scene in the 70s, he says that really she was the quintessential talent. And yet she never achieved that early notoriety with Philip Glass and Robert Wilson and Laurie Anderson. Why do you think that was? Why took it her so long to get the critical recognition?
I mean, I think a lot of that had to do with being a woman in a very man's world, the composing world part especially. I think there was a real like male mafia, I think, in a certain way, and they were getting the attention. She was like some of her like Quarry was right up against Einstein on the Beach, or yeah, I think so, right? That was 76. And you know, the Uptown papers. There was, to be fair, there were people in the downtown press, Village Voice, Soho News, that actually really did catch on to her earlier. But the mainstream press, the New York Times especially, was kind of stuffy back then, and they just didn't get her. And as you could see from those reviews, so I think it had a lot to do with her being a woman. It had a lot to do with her doing things that were really out on the edge. I mean, she just did not compromise. She just did her thing, and yeah.
I mean, was the Guggenheim sort of her first big sort of venue to introduce herself to Uptown New York?
I think so, yeah. I think that's right, because that was 1969. And that was actually, I think you get it in the film, that was the first time the Guggenheim gave permission for a live event like that, a live performance in the Rotunda.
You have a lot of playful elements in the film. I love the overlapping interviews with her saying the same thing over the years. And I thought that the Zoom with the professors was hilarious. And certainly I'll never be the same in my next MRI. I'll enjoy it. But you managed to maintain a true respect for the seriousness of her work. Was that a fine line to not to be too playful and to acknowledge the seriousness, or how did you sort of manage to balance that?
The nice thing is that Meredith really values humor and has a tremendous sense of humor, sly sense of humor in her own work. Yeah. So that I felt gave me a certain amount of permission to do that. And a lot of what's in the film is inspired by what I learned from her as a theater maker as well. The whole mosaic approach is something, all of her music theater works are structured as mosaics. They're not linear narratives, so I kind of borrowed that. And in some cases I started with really like maybe very mischievous impulse, because I did that the section you're talking about with the saying the same thing in multiple interviews. I mean, initially I was like, wow, she really has her story down, and she's been saying the same thing. So I think I started almost like, I want to, like a little bit mischievous to show that. And then as I got into the editing of that section, I realized, no, actually, this is because she's got this really powerful idea, and she just wants to get it out there and repeat it.
You don't feel you're mocking her at all. It's really, as you say, she's got it down early on. Yeah. At one point, she talks about her voice transcending culture, and that this sort of allows her to have more of an international following. Do you think that was part of her motivation from the beginning, or is this just something that was the advantage of her with the nonsense syllables?
I think she just recognized that. I don't think it was a sort of calculated to be more appealing around the world. I think it really had to do with, she did it was almost like scientific research on her own voice. I think in the 60s, she would just sit at the piano, vocalize, and start figuring out, how to create these very elemental sounds that, as she says, kind of evoke very deep emotions without using words. And I think that is probably has helped her. I mean, as Susan will attest, they love her in Germany, just beyond really here, right? I mean, you got both remember their response.
Yeah, I mean, when the film was invited to play at the Berlin Film Festival, our first night we were put in a theater with 900 seats, and we were like, whoa, this is we hope that we can fill this, and every single seat was filled, and we had then 3 other sold out performances that followed. So she has a tremendous fan base in Germany, and Katie and Meredith travel still all over the world.
And who did the animation?
So Paul Barrett is his name. I had, I think in 2019, I saw a production of The Magic Flute, and the production design was a scrim covering the whole, basically across the stage, and these projected animations with the performers kind of behind the scrim, sometimes in front. The Queen of the Night aria was the Queen of the Night, a little head at the top, with a giant spider's body coming out, chasing Tamino around the stage. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Who did these drawings? And I kind of tracked this guy down. He works by himself in Margate near London. Mm-hmm. And I got in touch with him. We started working on another project that kind of didn't go anywhere. And then when the funding came through for this Meredith Monk film, I said, do you know who she is? Yeah, I love her, And it was really, really one of the best collaborations I've ever had, because he was, I wanted to do the 2 dreams that we got from Meredith's dream notebooks, and we had so much fun doing those. I was like, well, okay, could you also do these text animations that we did for the critics, and which were great, right? And then, okay, well, how about bespoke chapter titles for each section? And it just like what they say in the corporate world, mission creep. It was mission creep, and he just was lovely to work with. Just yeah.
Great. You have terrific interviewees. They're all wonderful. They all hit the mark. I particularly love Bjork's remarks that she's the gateway to the ancient. And was it hard to round up some of these people, or were they clamoring on your doorstep?
David Byrne, right
Yeah.
from the get-go,
Yeah.
and that was a big boost for us. That was even before we were had money raised, so that was huge that he just signed right on, and he was lovely to interview. Bjork was kind of like 2 years of lobbying, and yes, and then it was honestly, it was like about a 20-minute audio only interview, which credit to my wonderful editor Sabina Krayenbuhl. We kind of paired that with another radio interview that was of Bjork and Meredith together, and we used the new material that I got from Bjork with that, edited as if it were a kind of conversation and so
seamless.
Yeah. Sabina's the best. So yeah.
Well, there's so many features that she has that are so charming. Her beautiful smile, the scene of her with Obama brought me to tears for more reasons than one. But but her beautiful voice, the 3-octave range, her playfulness is just so charming. Is she going to be involved in any of the screenings that you have as you go forward, or are you still in touch with her? Is she still part of your lives?
Yeah, absolutely. We breathe Meredith 24/7 in our household. But basically, Zeitgeist Emily released the film in July at IFC Center, and Meredith came to two back-to-backs, which it's always great when she can show up. And it was
Did she
great.
talk afterwards?
Oh yeah. She did the Q&A with me, and then we just had a reprise at IFC as part of Doc NYC, and Meredith came to that as well. So she's become she's all in, and yes, they're still performing. Katie's was just on the road with her for 5 weeks. She got this the Golden Lion at the Venice Biennale Musica, and they have a sort of teaching gig going on in Essen, Germany, where they showed the film, and Katie and Meredith did the Q&A together. So yeah. I mean, it's been a great ride since Berlin. It really has. Yeah.
Wonderful. Emily, could you talk about the challenges of your work, which are awesome, to say the least, distributing independent films?
Wendy, I was hoping we weren't going to have to get to that. I was trying to be so positive in my speech and accepting this award, and I was purposefully not talking about the state of the industry right now and how incredibly challenging it is and really tough. But again, working with films you love, and directors like this and producers like that, and we make it work. It's a real labor of love getting this film into as many theaters as we can. I think we've been on, I actually think it's about close to 40 screens, which isn't bad. And people love the film. We did have great response when we opened it in New York at ISC Center. Meredith really helped, her appearance, and the New York Times didn't review the film. I'll just mention that because you all heard in my speech what I talked about. The New York Times, they don't review every film now, and they didn't review this. And I thought it was really interesting that this film, after all that about the press and the mainstream press, she's still not being recognized, even in a documentary about her. They're not going to review it. So that hurt a little bit. But, we got other press, and we did do a lot, and Meredith was great to work with, and I got to hang out with her. I actually brought her to New York from her upstate place for the opening, so that was really fun. The challenges are there. I don't know what to say. We have to just keep picking the right films that make it worth it. That's maybe the answer, because it's very unpredictable what will work and won't work. And I think we've always just tried to be passionate about what we do and do it as best as we can, and hope for the best.
And you do.
That hasn't changed.
can I also just say just in public that having these guys, Emily and Susan, help get this film in the world has been incredible. Really lucky for us, because it's a tough sell, this film, especially the way in the current environment. I mean, a lot of people, who we talk to, executive producers for, broadcasting, who I won't name, will say, like, if I have to Google her, I'm not interested. Really, it's just that kind of thing. And Meredith's sort of just under that threshold of fame where you're going to get that level of interest. So these guys really made it happen. Got this film out to a degree that I didn't expect. Yeah, I'm very happy about it.
Yes. Any questions from the audience? Anybody? Well, maybe I'll ask about the turtle. Was that her idea to be in the film, or was that yours?
The turtle's been an important part of her life since Neutron. Yeah, since the 70s, basically. And I think that was one of these great things that I kind of discovered with my editor, Sabina, in the edit room, was if you do a mosaic structure like we did, and you don't have the crutch of a linear narrative, you need to find other small kinds of through lines and bits of connective tissue that keep you feel like you're moving forward in the film. And I think the turtle turned out to be a really nice one. And yes, Meredith was like, I'm going to visit Neutron in the hospital, during COVID. Do you want to come? I was like, sure, yeah. So we got to shoot that film, and then we had all these other moments. And then there's you just find things through really deep archival research. I think one of the bits where she's with her turtle and making it swim or whatever, which that moment came from outtakes from a Norwegian television documentary.
Oh my God.
They wouldn't even officially license it to us because it wasn't in their system, but somehow we found it, and
I love that Neutron was too beautiful to be in the film.
And they found Proton instead. Yeah.
It's I love her. Any questions? Yes, sorry.
Please join me, the audience, in guilting everyone we know at the New York Times to review this film.
Yes. Surely there's somebody we can all talk to, right? And yes.
This may be a delicate question, but we've all seen in Hollywood a thrust of anti-Semitism going on. And there are a couple of periods in this movie when Judaism, when immigration are front and center. And I'm wondering if any of those elements may have been why the New York Times didn't want to talk about this, or if you've had any difficulty in distributing this movie because of any of her religious comments.
I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think the New York Times watched the film. I don't think they saw it. It wasn't a decision after they saw it not to review it. They have a stable of film reviewers who they assign reviews to, and some of those reviewers get to express interest in what they want to review. Nobody chose to review the film and pushed to do it. There were a lot of other films opening that week. And,
was on vacation.
Manola Dargis, who's the lead critic who might have assigned it, was away. So we may have run into that. I don't think it had anything to do with that. I mean, I don't think so. And nobody, when I would share the film with people to exhibit it, nobody, I don't think, turned it down based on that. I mean, most people actually did play it. I mean, it got a lot of play dates. It's difficult to get screens. And again, Meredith Monk's not a household name. And so a lot of theaters may have felt she wouldn't be a big enough draw for, a week run or something like that. But I never heard anybody say anything about the content of the film being in any way problematic from that point of view.
Also, the film has played all over the world. I mean, we have an international distributor, Cinephile,
The film has been in, I don't know, 50 film festivals internationally. So it's not getting in the way. Those themes are not getting in the way on a global basis either.
Do you think it would be too late to call Manola after the fact? No, really. I mean, it's disgraceful. Well, I think it's worth a try. One more question? Yes, Genevieve.
I was just curious about the clips that are shown. I was just curious about her performances, and was she the filmmaker of those performances that were done at the time? Because I think that those had wonderful perspectives and eyes and all of that stuff. So I'm just curious about the filmmaking of the performances.
The only one that I think she might have had some input maybe on the editing was Quarry, where it was like a New York Public Library production. I think somehow they were involved in wanting to document it, but it was done at a very high level. But for the most part, those performance pieces were other people, other filmmakers, documentaries, a lot of German documentaries that were documenting her in the 80s. The ones the actual films like Ellis Island that you saw, or Book of Days, those black and white ones, those are, directorial efforts. But yeah.
Do we have time for more questions? Okay. There was a hand. Oh, there you go.
The only thing that was sad was the breakfast at the end, and I didn't see how that fit in, because she's such a joyous person and seems so positive, and I just wondered what that was about.
So that was actually one of the first. I had initially done about a day of shooting of these various scenes of her in her loft, when I made my initial cut, when I was editing, before I brought on another editor, I loved that scene as the final scene, because it seemed like, okay, even after she's gotten the award from Obama, her life is about work, and it's a very solitary life that she lives right now. It's almost monastic, to me, there is a melancholy, I agree with you, in that scene, but I don't think it's out of her character or her life in any way. To me, it felt right, and it also felt right for that song, which is one of the most powerful of her songs, Do You Be. I almost kind of felt like you're not really ready to hear that until the end. It feels like a kind of cry to heaven or something, that it just felt right for that moment. And then the idea of ending on just, okay, she goes back to work at the piano, it felt right to me. And interestingly, when I brought Sabina Krahenbuhl, the editor, on, she saw that and said, you should really shoot more of these loft scenes. So I went back for 2 more days, I think, and shot. And because she was like, do that, and then we can have that as this sort of thing you return to throughout the film.
The watering of the plants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it works nicely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you for making this film. I'm in the music industry, and I've met your wife, Katie, and Theo Bleckman is a dear friend of mine who's also in the core of her ensemble work, and she's such an important voice, and so grateful that we can, especially maybe academia, these should be required viewing for our students, and so maybe the pathway to her greater recognition is, through our just showing this film and making sure that people know of her and her legacy. I don't know abroad if you found that she's more celebrated, not just in Germany, but just internationally. But it's just the way in which we consume art, and we need to compartmentalize it here in the United States. So she doesn't fit in a box that we can understand. And we need that in our structure, in our system here. And it's why a lot of artists go unrecognized. And so that's the heavy lift, but it's so great that you did this. thank you, Katie, and thank you for telling her story, because she is very, very important to the art form. And I just, one other comment: she didn't get recognized as a choreographer or dancer with as in the award, right? When Obama recognized her, she was a composer and.
Yeah,
but she's a dancer. Is she seen as such?
I think they pretty much, when they gave her the award, they acknowledged that she's an interdisciplinary artist and she does all these things. And,
anyway, it's just so beautiful. Thank you. It'll be on my required list, certainly with my students.
Thank you so much.
And it
thank
seems,
you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, is there another question? We have 1 minute to go. Okay, well, let's spend that minute clapping for the film.